Hey, doctors. Thanks to all of you who DM'd me on Instagram to check if I was alive. I am alive and I am back for season 2 of the Micropractice Mama podcast. So forgive me, I took a little holiday hiatus. It was not really planned. I should have given some warnings about it. But yeah, I disappeared for a few weeks and now I am back. And don't you worry, I have so much planned for you for this year. I just sat down and outlined content for the next 6 weeks of podcast episodes and the next 6 weeks of newsletters. And I can tell you there's some really good ones in there. The season opening episode of the podcast is something I actually recorded a few weeks ago, right after the death of Brian Thompson. And the topic of that, not to be callous, but the topic of that is why primary care is better without insurance. So anyway, that's a controversial hot topic, but I think it's a great impetus to revisit why DPC as a model is compelling and how it changes the practice of primary care. The other topics we're covering are ways I'm improving my practice in 2025 because the work never ends. I'm always trying to make it better. I have an entire episode planned on how do I do X, like order labs, order imaging, do a referral, take time off. These are the questions I get over DM all the time. So I'm going to condense all of those into a really rapid fire logistical episode. I'm going to talk about ways, this is one of the more episodes, I'm going to talk about ways that micropractice has changed me as a person and give you a few examples of how that's played out in my life. And then I'm going to have interviews with several people, hopefully a couple of people that are currently enrolled in my course, an interview with the founder of my EMR and a little bit of a deep dive on that. And then in the newsletter, there's going to be several topics covered that I wouldn't necessarily share in a public forum like this. So the first newsletter of the year is going to be a 2024 salary breakdown for me. So you will see what I took home, how much I paid in taxes, what my expenses were, and hopefully that gives you a better grasp of what micropractice looks like financially. I'm also going to do a newsletter that I'm very excited about 5 ways to avoid malingerers, drug seekers, and energy vampires. This is a topic that comes up a lot in the DPC groups of having a patient who is disrespecting your boundaries or inappropriately using your service or asking for things that are outside of your scope or just generally making your life really hard and causing you stress. And the question is, how do we prevent these people from gaining 24/7 access to us via our micropractice? And so that's a little bit of a sensitive topic, and I want to handle that in a very thoughtful way. And so that's something I'm covering in the newsletter rather than the pod. I'm also doing a newsletter on logistical overwhelm. So it'll be paired with the podcast that talks about how to do those logistical things, but really talking about how do you overcome the overwhelm of the logistical tasks, because it's really overcoming the feeling of overwhelm that is the key to getting that stuff done successfully. I'm planning a few more that I'll leave a surprise, but basically there's lots in store for you over the next couple of months. I hope you'll stick with me. Thank you for coming back despite my long absence. And then lastly, all of this is hopefully leading up to another free webinar. So the next webinar I'm doing, honestly, I haven't picked the topic for that. I don't want to repeat exactly what I did in my last webinar. So if you have ideas, please send them to me. I'm very open to it. But basically, the idea is a 30 to 40 minute free webinar providing free value and information to people who are interested in micropractice. And that's going to be February 26th at 8 p.m. Central Time. So mark your calendars and let me know if you have requests for what you want covered or what you think would be a good topic for that webinar. So anyway, thanks again for coming back to the pod. I hope you're signed up for the newsletter to get all of the additional free info. And then I hope to see you guys at the webinar coming up at the end of February. And with that, I give you season 2.